All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome on back. Continuing along our Tuesday post-Traders Talk edition of our afternoon meeting. Great to see everybody live in our trading room and, of course, streaming across social media here, guys. Let's just get a quick sound check to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear, as you guys can see clearly. Well, kind of looks like we're having a similar day to what we had on Thursday, where the markets were beginning to slump off going into the afternoon. Of course, it's kind of happening a bit sooner than what we had on Thursday last week. Great to see everybody, though. Mark, Pat, Donnie, Dennis, Daniel, the D's right there in the chat board. Jose, Jim, Gene, Lawrence, Jonathan, William, and Fausto in the chat board as well with GNUS here. So let's hop over to that quickly. We will come back to the Dow. Fausto's calling it out. We're going to check it out. So to begin, I thought I switched. Oh, there we are. Okay. GNUS, there's the new high. So I was going to get to this first. I typically go through the Dow to begin just to check across the overall markets. But, you know, Fausto's here in the chat board. I think he might even be in this trade currently. So for what it's worth, this thing is pushing up beautifully going into the close, guys. I ended up taking a scratch trade myself just earlier, perhaps right place, wrong time. But we ended up noting a new high, a breakout shortly after 2 p.m. Eastern time on this GNUS trade here. I mean, over 1.1 million shares of buying, and that's just the buying alone, probably close to 2 million shares total on that one spike. So you'd figure something's up, right? Somebody knows something. There's a reason why we ended up seeing so much volume get filled. Well, you know, we as in me, I ended up chasing it right here. I got in at 385. So I ended up taking essentially a scratch trade where I closed out at 383. And, well, at the point, ended up making a steady drop-off shortly after. So I have to say good loss, but there's always room for more opportunity if this ends up re-breaking. So I missed out on this pop. I wish I was not doing this meeting. Perhaps I'd be making some money on this trade, but nevertheless, it's not just this GNUS. There are plenty of others to work with going into the afternoon. So I will make this brief because there's a lot moving currently aside from this, and there will continue to be other stocks moving going into this afternoon, guys. So for what it's worth, GNUS easily going to put this just on our watch list going into the close. Fausto just most recently called out a 200,000 share iceberg order on the ask in our trading room here. So I see 107,000 through the NASDAQ. So there has to be more volume routed through like the EdgeX, ECN, the BATS, perhaps just through what we see on our level 4 book map, otherwise known as. So the GNUS trade, certainly we are going to put this on our watch list for right now. Let's just check in, guys, across the market. The Dow in particular, like I said, and still dropping off right now. So I want to take us back to Thursday because this was a similar pattern in terms of a breakout shortly after the open. And it was holding strong right up until the afternoon. And, well, really on Thursday, this was the big drop that we had. It was shortly after 3 o'clock. The markets pulled back like 250 points, 300 points. And, well, for what it's worth, again, we're seeing a bit of a shake right now. So this would be a great time to just focus on some stocks that tend to move with the market, some stocks that have moved with the market across the last 2-3 months at this point. What I'm referring to here, guys, as usual, stocks like the cruise lines, the airlines, the casino stocks. So we'll come back to these at the very end, but clearly, as you guys can see, roughly around 2 o'clock, shortly a bit prior or after, some of these stocks are beginning to break lower. So NCLH, UAL Airline here, United Airlines, MGM, beginning to pull back to big support here, actually, a 55,000 share iceberg order on the bid here at 18 bucks on MGM. So that could be a good setup, as I would call it. Penn National Gaming dropping off pretty nicely. This would be worth watching its support off of 31. We'll come back to these guys in just a moment. But what I'd like to do first, typically as so, is recap some of the stocks that we had from the morning. And then what we'll do is, at the same time, essentially, is build up our list going into the end of this day. So let me get my pre-market settings just back up here. There we go. So to begin, I mean, I guess it's hard to not begin without number one, AMRH. AMRH up still 160%, but we really, focused on this just right at 9:30. You got halted a couple of times on the way up. Unfortunately, though, and this is the case with a lot of these small cap stocks, so we have to be extremely careful with at least making sure we get out when it's ending up pulling back a bit further. So after the market open, rather, we ended up seeing this continue. So it popped in pre-market, I should say, and then shortly after the open, thing ended up holding support off of 4, moved up to 5. You could see off the next whole number resistance here. big volume spike, and it was pretty shaky around there, kind of cutting through 5 up, but more so down. That's not really the best sign for continuation, but somehow ended up squeezing up a little bit more. But from that point, the volume crapped out, as did the trade. AMRH just total dump back down here towards 350. So, this was a really nice trade, at least in pre-market. And again, like I'd said, a little bit after the open, but we got to be careful, because once the volume typically dies off, the stock isn't really going to go much higher, right? So it'll either just die out, or otherwise, with a lot of these small caps, they'll kind of pull back pretty quick and then just drop off further. All right, guys, so we had the AMRH trade early on. We ended up catching a couple of the other ones just really quickly. MGI, MoneyGram, potential buyout off of Western Union. So MGI, this is a classic example of just when news comes out, doesn't always mean it's going to continue to move up. You'd figure with a buyout, perhaps we're going to see MGI make a nice spike, run up, buy the rumor, sell the news. It wasn't necessarily an official buyout just yet, but, for what it's worth, again, popped in the after hours, moved up a little bit higher early on in the pre-market session, and, well, just pulled back after 9:30, right? So the one thing about this trade that I really want to just mention is that this stock is shortable. So we actually did pretty well on this trade after the open, but it wasn't on the long side. It was on the short side. Once we ended up seeing this really more so look to hold resistance, oops, where am I here? Once we ended up seeing this thing hold resistance pretty nicely, it spiked up erratically, but then dragged back down. So held resistance roughly off of 375. From that point, you got to figure you're expecting a lower low. So it slammed down to 350 and much further from that point. And as you can see right now, it's still near the lows. Perhaps we could see a gap fill opportunity. I really don't mind adding this to our list. I mean, honestly, more on the short side going into the end of this day than the long side. It is shortable. It's pulling back to the lows. If we have a really big watch list going into the end of the day, maybe I scratch this off at the very end. So for now, it will make the cut. We'll look to see if this continues down below the lows here off of 331, 330 off the bid. Now, I'm getting pinged right now, and it was a stock that we were calling out and trading going into the early afternoon here, PGEN. PGEN, this thing is just ripping right now. So I don't know what the news is, at least not off the top of my head. Let me look into my trusty Benzinga Pro here. I think that we had posted it just earlier in the chat board. I thought I saw it. Maybe it was another Gen stock, perhaps. I don't really see anything here from Benzinga Pro. Nope, no specific news yet, at least from Benzinga Pro on this stock. Priceogen, PGEN. Well, this is a good example as well of kind of just not really focusing much on the news, focusing more on the clear trend and the resistance that this thing just broke out of. 359. We ended up seeing a strip of volume fill just a moment ago at 359. So perhaps that could be a resistance, and perhaps now it could be a support. This thing is doing a beautiful job running higher. So easy for me to just put this on our list. Hopefully this trend remains very steady, so it's an easy trade for us all to follow. I wouldn't expect this trend to keep going, guys, as perfect as it is. It's going to pull back, so enjoy it while it lasts, to be honest. Perhaps if it runs up so much so fast, it can get halted, so just be on the lookout for that. But for as much of a job as it's as good of a job as this thing is running up, you got to expect a shake, a pullback. When is this thing going to make a false breakout, perhaps? So just always have that in the back of your head here at this point. All right, so you know what? That was actually number 2. I don't know if it jumped from number 3 to number 2 as I was going through this, but I guess at this point, we'll just go from top to bottom. We discussed AMRH. We discussed GNUS, LTM. LTM's next. I was going to get to LTM here. LTM, another one, breaking a new high here, filling the gap. Let me ask, in the chat board right now, here live in our trading room, we have one of our students, John D. I think he had commented to us all here earlier today that he ended up getting in from 176 or 173. John, let us know here if you're tuning in, if you're still in this trade. I know that he's probably focused on his trade, of course, right? But like type like the letter Y, perhaps, if you're still in. John told us earlier he got in off a pullback on the LTM trade off 175, I believe, 173, 176. If he's still in this trade, he is killing it. Cheap stock, level 1. I know at least John can probably load up on the shares, trade a few thousand at a time. So very nice steady run up here so far. You would have to expect the next major resistance on this trade would be off of 2. So, just be on the lookout for that next level ahead. But yeah, I mean, this thing is doing a great job as well. LTM. No word from John, and I will say John, I believe, lives in Scotland, Glasgow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's 6 hours ahead, so he might be out and done for the day already. So yeah, hopefully John is doing pretty good on this trade if he's still in. But yeah, we'll come back to this. Just again, this one's on for right now, but we'll check back with this at the end even. MREO pulling back here. Volume died off, so the stock. All right, cool. So you know what we'll do? Just expand the scanner here, just kind of skim through now at this point. MGI we have, again, it's on the back end of our list. Made the cut for right now. I'll tell you, if this WWR trade was shortable, this would make the cut definitely. But this would have been one of the best trades from this morning if it was shortable. Another one that was up big, pulled back, and dumped off it after the open, as you could see. I mean, complete gap fill from the pre-market pop-up. So would have been nice, but for right now, we're going to pass. HYRE, again, a lot of these, the volume died off on them pretty quickly. OIS, though, looks pretty interesting at this point. So OIS trading about 8,000 shares per minute right now, heading into the end of the day. Double top, of course, right near the highs. So for right now, we'll certainly put this on our list, just given the trend, the move, tight spread right now, somewhat filled in order book. OIS. Oh, and also, I mean, we're going to expect this to continue pushing up just based on how beautiful of a chart this is. But if it doesn't, and if it ends up completely crapping out the other way, well, it's shortable, right? So keep that in mind as well, at least for those with TradeStation. Got a couple TEs, BTE, GTE here. I don't know if they're same business. Yeah, energy stocks. TENX up from this morning, very similar to which trade was that? The WWR. I mean, total dump off after the open. A couple familiar names here at the bottom. TTOO, Chibi, pretty flat. BNGO, this thing has been moving around a bit. Popped recently above 50 cents. It kind of broke below it a bit here, but it's right back to it. Maybe this can move up higher. I'll kind of keep this on the side, come back to this as well at the end. No word from John yet on that trade. All right, let's see. Anything else here on the gainer side? SUPV, Argentinian stock. I think they posted earnings. I think it was from last week. Low volume, not really doing too much. All right, that's fine. Riot, Bitcoin stock. This thing got killed early on today. I mean, Bitcoin just dumped off. This tends to follow Bitcoin at times, at least during sharper moves. Riot's a blockchain company. We ended up seeing Bitcoin tank like 600-700 points, and this thing dumped off with it. It's moving back up. I mean, maybe this could be the rare afternoon move, given how much it had kind of tanked. It's been building up support. I've said this a few times here during this afternoon broadcast. I don't really tend to see Riot run in the afternoon. The stock, we've seen this historically been, a big morning trade, a huge dud going into the late morning, early afternoon. So I'll keep this off our list for right now, but just Riot would be a good side list stock, just given the recent activity in Bitcoin here. My form is frozen up here right now. My platform might be frozen up right now. I can't kind of move around. Give me a split second. Oh, now I can. Okay, that was odd. Okay, I think I'm good. That was a weird jump. Alrighty, so hopefully no more of those. We'll hop over to the losers list, finish up this meeting here pretty quickly. Everybody here in the chat room, are you guys able to hear me right now? If you could hear me, just type the letter Y. Just want to make sure that audio is continuing, that we're still good. here, guys. Give me a quick sec. If you guys are streaming right now on social media, I think I'm going to reset the trading room, or at least reload my page. Not going to kick the room out. I'm going to reset on my end here, guys. Just give me a brief moment. I think things cut out for a split second. All right, everybody's streaming right now. I can still see, I believe. All right, guys. For everybody here in the trading room, just give me a quick chat back. Just one more sound check. Should be good. There we go. Perfect. All right, good. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Frank says, where are all the recommendations hiding? No, we're going to post the list, Frank, in just a moment. I just had a weird little reset here with my internet. So let's try and get through this quick then. So as usual, on the loser side here, guys, a bunch of crap that is hard to borrow, typically impossible to borrow. I want to get to ADRO. DGLY from yesterday popped at the open, total dump off after, though. ADRO, though, not too close to the ground floor, meaning not too close to zero. It is shortable. We ended up seeing just a bunch of volume filled a moment ago here, guys. Let's see. Just within the last, 10 minutes? 37, okay. Yeah, all of this year, 264, 265. That seemed to have been a bit of a support based on the amount of volume shown on time and sales. For what it's worth, I'll put this on our watch list. Look to see if this could eventually break lower here heading into the close and perhaps towards that 250 major price. ADRO. All right, cool. Go through a couple more here that are at least shortable. OSR. Been pretty flat for the last 10 or so minutes, kind of similar to that ADRO. I think ADRO, though, just cheaper opportunity, more volume on the book even. Love, I mean, I guess this is even thinner, more expensive than the OSUR. All right, let's just rally this up and we're done. So LE dropping off pretty nicely near the lows. I think it's trading less volume compared to the others even. So nice trend. It is at support, 625. I guess I'll kind of put this on at the end with the MGI. I mean, this could be a beautiful break here off 625 support. There's just about 4,400 shares plus on the bid. All right, let's see. CD. It's too slow here. All right, I think that's it, guys. Let me know if there's anything else that you would want me to check out. From Daniel, he says the GNUS trade moving. Of course, so GNUS on the top of our list already. How could it not be? But of course, as Daniel pointed out, it is getting closer and closer to that $4 resistance here. So looks like we already have a runner on our hands. MGI is flat. Yeah, I'm going to scratch MGI off this list right now. I want to see if there's better stocks aside from at least the MGI going into the close. I had this on our list because of a potential short opportunity, given a potential breakdown off the lows. It is shortable, but I'm going to scratch this from our list. Let's see, guys, if there's anything else otherwise across the trading room and across social media here, certainly just let me know. Jerry, NNDM. Yeah, that's right. I just got pinged on that too. So that's a good heads up, Jerry. Yep. I saw that before on my Benzinga Pro, and I skipped over just because I had to go through the losers list first. But beautiful pop. Very nice call. Things been running up very nicely, up over 3 and back under 3. So maybe the next pop above the 3 level, we'll look to see it make a new run. NNDM, definitely. Did I cover LTM from Donnie? I did already. So that one's on our list. So if you're tuning in late, Donnie, then this is a good call from you, of course, right? Went over this already with great reason. This one's already on our list. Look to see if this can continue to fill the gap going into the afternoon. That PGen trade's popping right now too. Not PGen, PGen. There we go. New high on PGen right now. I'll tell you guys, I mean, I think that we got our hands full already with GNUS, with PGen, with NNDM, with LTM. I mean, there's a bunch of these that are already moving. Now, here's the thing. You know, with 4 runners already, are all 4 of these going to continue to run perfectly going into the close? Actually, more than 4. I think there was another one that was running parabolically like this. But, you know, aside from that, I'd say the answer is no. We can't expect perfect trends across, you know, from start to finish here, guys. So look for false breakouts. Be more safe than sorry, so to say. That GNUS trade, it's testing that major resistance right now at 4. It just popped above the level. But is it going to stick? Is it going to hold above 4? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And if it's not now, maybe it's in a few minutes from now. Maybe it's in 20 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now, all right? So here we are, a little bit of a pullback below 4. Be careful right now if you're long on this trade. 395 was a backup resistance, I believe. It was holding it nicely on the chart, so maybe that could be a backup support. But otherwise, again, just be very careful, at least from, across these trends going into the end of the day. All right, so let's see, guys. WRTC. I got a few stocks on the momentum scan I have. Ooh, this one's doing great. I don't know if I skipped over this. WRTC. I may have skipped over this. Or, I mean, maybe it's popping now. And before I said it was a dud, but I think it's doing a great job. It's up to 950, just about 12,783 share order on the ask. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, at least for now, we'll focus on this WRTC trade. That's it, guys. I think we're good. And then aside from that, the side list stocks, if the market continues to pull back further, we would see a bit of an opportunity to short some of these stocks like NCLH, RCL, albeit a bit pricier, UAL, airline stocks like UAL, AAL, JetBlue, Delta, et cetera. Aside from that, though, guys, just try and stick with this list here. This list certainly gives you a very good opportunity to try and catch a beautiful run going into the end of this Tuesday. All right, aside from that, keep in mind, guys, a couple of things here. For all of our students, just want to do a little housekeeping. We will be continuing class, not today, but tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will be finishing up the Phase 3 stock course live with Fausto. That is the live trading sessions that we tend to do every month. So I look forward to look forward to being there with you guys, trading alongside Fausto going into tomorrow. For anyone streaming across social media, we will also be doing a big event, I believe, this week on Thursday, a free introductory to day trading webinar. So if you see the banner below, if you'd like more information about the workshop coming up, the webinar coming up this week, feel more than free to call the office, and one of our education advisors will pick up and gladly provide more detail. All right, guys, aside from that, GNUS is back up to 4. We'll look to see if that will pop higher going into the end of the day. Aside from that, let's try and make some money together here, guys. Take care.